Hello, children. Here we are going to start with chapter 2 from Flamingo Lost Spring by Anis Jung. This story is written by a famous short story writer, Anis Jung, who was born in Rourkela and spent her childhood and adolescence in Hyderabad. She received her education in Hyderabad and in the United States of America. She began her career as a writer in India. She has been an editor and columnist for major newspapers in India and abroad. She has also authored several books. The following is an excerpt from her book titled Lost Spring Stories of Stolen Childhood. Here, she writes about the utter poverty and traditions which force these children to a life of exploitation. She highlights the utter destitution of rag pickers of Simapuri and the bangle makers of Firozabad. The story revolves around the pitiable condition of poor children who are forced to live in slums and work hard in very dirty conditions. The story is divided into two parts. The first part, sometimes I find a rupee note in the garbage, tells the writer's impressions about the life of poor ragpickers who have migrated from Bangladesh but are now settled in the Simapuri area of Delhi. Child labor. However, we may turn a blind eye or a deaf ear, we cannot escape the truth that this is indeed a national shame. Article 48A of the Constitution clearly lays down that child labor is a punishable offense. The Constitution clearly states that no child below the age of 14 can be engaged in any hazardous working condition. But still, we find the children cleaning the floors. We find them cleaning tables in restaurants. We even find them making locks, slates, pencil leads, bangles, and fireworks. We see the small children engaged in dangerous tasks like rolling beedies, weaving saris and carpets, packing loads in factories and mines. Anis Jung talks about this only. She simply talks about poverty in the first part. She talks about how poor children are condemned, forced, compelled to a life of exploitation, which results in the loss of childhood, innocence, education, and play for them. These children unknowingly become child labor from a very early age. Before we start with the story of Sahib, a question always pops up in mind. Why Anis Jung titles the narrative Lost Spring? Spring is associated with childhood. Like spring, a child blooms in his childhood. However, abject poverty and thoughtless traditions result in the loss of childlike innocence and much needed education. Millions of children like Sahib and Mukesh lose the spring in their lives because they are compelled to do hazardous work to provide a living for their family and themselves. Thus, the title brings out the dejected life of the child laborers and their deprivation of the blessings of childhood. So here we begin our stories with our two heroes, our two protagonists, Sahib and Mukesh. You will see that both have lost their childhood in carrying the burden of their families. Yes, their stories are bleak. Yes, their stories are grim. The stories are dark. The stories are unpromising. But still, I call them heroes, for I can still see a silver lining in their stories. I can still find glimpses of courage and capacity to rise above all hurdles in their story. I start with my first story. Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage that has a young boy, a small boy, Sahib in the lead. Sahib comes from Bangladesh with his family. Very small when he was brought to Delhi. Some natural calamities struck home, compelling the families to migrate. They came to Delhi only to find a barren piece of land, Simapuri, which they made their transit homes. For survival, for a livelihood, they started with the rag picking. How ironical indeed that things we throw out of our homes, considering to be trash, considering to be unusable, become gold for them. They make a living out of them. And Sahib, he belongs to one such family. Every morning, he is not the only child. Many other boys of his age come out of their homes to simply wander off to different directions, to different lanes, only to return back in the evening. One fine day, when writer gets talking with Sahib and questions him that why he engages himself in rag picking, she comes to find that children like him do not know anything else to do. When she questions Sahib if he would want to go to school, she notices a smile, a broad smile coming to Sahib's face. But very soon she realizes that if Sahib could go to school, why will he engage himself in a menial job like rag picking? As if to test Sahib's willingness of educating himself, she questions that if she would make a school, will Sahib come? And within 2 3 days, she finds Sahib running up to her, wanting to know if the school is ready. She feels a little embarrassed, but soon she tides over this embarrassment, for she knows that the government makes even falser promises to them, and she knows that very soon the child will forget about the promise. She comes to notice that they live in Simapuri, a place again very ironically from where Delhi starts. But in comparison to other parts of Delhi, this is the most backward place of all. Yes, there are taps, but no running water in them. There are no drains. There is no cleanliness. And despite having no basic facilities available to them, these children, these families continue to live in Simapuri. She is a little taken aback that how they survive in such conditions, and soon she comes to find how and why the families survive in these conditions. She now comes to understand that the children who are unable to buy even a pair of footwear for them, and they do not even accept that it's because of their poverty that they are unable to buy a pair of shoes. The children who simply say that it is a tradition for them to go barefoot, why they continue to live in Simapuri. She now comes to understand that why these people do not bother about an identity, and why they continue to live in such an unhygienic place, in such a place where they do not even have basic facilities of life. The reason being that the government have actually issued them ration cards. The picture gets clear that with the issuing of the ration cards, the families can go to the fair price shops and buy food grains for them. She comes to understand that as long as they are getting food to eat, as long as they are going to bed without an empty stomach, they would not bother about how poor they are. They would not worry about whether they have an identity or not. She comes to realize that the garbage they throw becomes gold for them, for it gives them basic means of survival. She comes to know that sometimes the children they manage to get some currency from the garbage dumps, and in the greed of getting the currency every day they keep accompanying their parents. Money they don't get every day, but they soon become very skillful and very adept in the work of rag picking. And that's how they become partners in survival. They start assisting their parents in the job of rag picking. She realizes it that for the elders, rag picking is a means of survival, whereas for the children, it starts off as a wonderful activity, as an activity full of adventure, as an activity full of excitement, and soon becomes a livelihood for them. One morning, the writer gets to see a gruesome truth of life, a gruesome reality of life. She notices Sahib wearing mismatching shoes and holding a steel canister in his hand. On probing a little, she comes to find that now he has begun to work in a tea stall. She comes to realize that because rag picking can never assure a fixed income, Sahib's father has got him engaged in a tea stall where he is going to get rupees 800 a month and all three times meal. But she begins to wonder that the money and the food, which may be a big thing for Sahib and his family, have they come for free? And no, it's not come for free. It's come at a price. And the price is Sahib has lost his freedom. When Sahib would hang his bag on the shoulders and go for rag picking, he was still a free bird. Now that he is getting 800 rupees and all three times meal, he still cannot be called a free bird because he is now a child labor who has to work to support his family. Here Anis Jung comes to realize that money and food they are so important for children like Sahib that they do not even notice when they, they lose their childhood. They do not even realize that in this bargain they have lost something very precious. They have lost something which will never ever return back to them. That is the childhood, the spring of their life. That's how the children like Sahib lose the spring of their life. Now, with this first story coming to an end, my request to each one of you would be give it a reading first, then give a listening to this PowerPoint presentation, and then a few questions at the end. Like always, you all have to complete these questions. All right, have a good time, good luck, stay safe at home. Happy quarantine to each one of you. I know it's not happy, but still, nothing much can be done here. So don't be a botheration for the parents. Keep patience. अच्छे दिन जल्दी आएंगे. All the best.